Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This guy right over here, his name is Tim, and this is the Second Legacy. And thank you for stopping by. This is the place where we break everything down that's going on in the gun world, add a little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of humor, and really make you smile for the rest of your day as we fight for our gun rights. That's what we're about. And today, oh, Tim, we have got some stuff to talk about. The media is saying some quiet parts out loud, my man. I can't wait to show you. And then we have of course, the gun controllers being creepy and using the voice generated AI of dead victims in order to call Congress people. And then we have G3. So this is going to be
Wow.
a thing, my man. This is going to be a thing. So I tell you what, Tim, it's time. Let's dive right into it. What do you think? You think just
Yeah, let's do it. I'm really
let's
interested
get
in this
right in?
AI story. That
That's
sounds
next.
interesting.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
next. You can't get that one first. We got to do segment 1 because
Okay.
as I'm sure that you're aware, we had a horrible accident. No, not accident. That's the wrong word. A horrible tragedy in Kansas City at the Super Bowl parade, right? The media and the gun controllers went out immediately, along with President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, to say that we need to ban all guns. And it's the effing guns. It's always the effing guns. It's nothing but the effing guns. You know, that whole rigmarole where they blame everyone and everything emotionally. Well, it
Yes.
turns out that situation is getting a little uncomfortable as more details come out around, I don't know, like gangs and stuff. But we're going to cover that. But let's look at how the media is letting the quiet part of the out of the bag a little bit here, Tim, because this I find fascinating, and I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. This was this morning. Dr. Button Pusher, could you throw number 1 up for me?
Well, following yesterday's tragic events in Kansas City, President Biden is renewing calls for stricter gun control. In a statement, the president said that it's time to act and called for a ban on assault weapons and to strengthen background checks. Joining me now is CBS News Chief White House Correspondent Nancy Cordes. Nancy, it's a little, rinse and repeat. This is what I expect to hear from the president at this time. But I look at we are in an election year, and I look at the list of topics and issues that people are most concerned about. And frankly, despite the fact that this was a mass shooting, we had a mass shooting on Super Bowl Sunday in a church. Gun violence doesn't rank very high this time around. What reaction are we getting from Capitol Hill?
Well, gee, we got assault weapons and background checks.
Yeah.
Somehow, I don't think either of those apply to this one, do they?
Not at all, because I mean, from the early clips that we've seen, Tim, with this instance, individuals who were tackled and caught on camera being tackled were running full bore with their hands at their sides, like you would see someone sprinting away from something like a crime. Yeah, it doesn't seem that there were any assault weapons involved, and you had multiple shooters and multiple handguns. Does this sound like something else, Tim? I mean, this is all conjecture at this
Yeah.
point.
It's a little bit conjecture. I've read various reports. It sounded like perhaps there was a beef between parties that were
Hmm.
at this event, and then that
Okay.
erupted into violence. But there's two very uncomfortable things here. Obviously, it's going to be, and this is going to push it right out of the news cycle. There's so
Yep.
many things that just don't fit the profile for the anti-gunners to glob onto and run with because
Correct.
we have certain groups that they simply won't address, and then, of course, when it's not an AR-15 or something similar, and it's a handgun that's used, of course, that's inconvenient for them as well. So this will go right down the memory hole fairly quickly after
Yeah.
they hype it for a little while without giving you the full details because they
Correct.
don't want you to know the full truth because that's uncomfortable. They'll just give you the high level stuff. They'll run that for a few days, get the emotional response they need, and then whoop, right down the
Hmm.
memory hole. What happened there? We don't
Exactly
care.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And now this is, and we haven't even gotten to Biden and Harris yet. But this is the important piece about this people, beautiful people of the Second Legacy. We know from like just from early releases, not all the information, which by the way, we're going to cover as it comes out. But we know 100% there were not assault weapons used and ex- um, extended magazines. There's no way to prove that. You have multiple instances of people arrested and suspects. Biden has no clue what he's talking about. He's just saying the exact same statement every single time. Ban assault weapons and high capacity magazines and universal background checks. None of those things apply here. And even the news anchor, and this is why I wanted to do this sector or this segment, even the news anchor is going, it's not ranking, it's not resonating with people. Like, what's going on? Gun control is supposed to be this scary thing that we get all this momentum on because the people aren't buying it. I'm
No.
telling you, something's different.
Well, I mean, once again, this appears to be, very low level street crime, maybe gang violence type of stuff, right?
Mhm.
This is stuff that goes on in every major city, mostly far left run, and that's
Yep.
why I can say I would be willing to bet that neither or any of the three that have been arrested thus far submitted to any type of background check. I'm sure that their firearms weren't purchased legally through, any type of gun store or something like that. These are going to be more than likely stolen guns that were sold out of the trunk of a car somewhere in an alley. I mean, who knows? We don't know. Speculation, but I'm going to go
Complete
with that.
speculation.
And we do know
Right.
they were handguns, and we do know that this wasn't some sort of a terrorist attack. It looks again to be very much related to either gang violence or street crime type of stuff.
Correct. And it looks like two individual groups. Again, this is all high level. This is early reporting. So we're not
Right.
breaking
These
this.
things can
We're,
change. Yes.
they can change. We're just reacting. But what it looks like right now is two separate groups were beefing with each other, started shooting at each other, and hit innocent bystanders behind both their targets while they were perfectly fine. So that's what it looks like. Again, we're going to find out more, but I'm really curious why the outrage is not going to be with all for the children, because there were a lot of innocent children hit in this. I wonder if that outrage for the children is going to extend to, and what are we doing about criminals? What are we doing about gangs? What are we doing about organized crime? No, it's just the guns that catch all the beef, because it's the effing guns, Tim. It's that
Yeah.
part really is maddening.
It has absolutely nothing to do with the people that did this. It is
Nope.
just the guns.
Right. And so now I love giving these to you in like little biteable portions because they're so delicious. That first part, the anchor was very dismayed, Tim, about the fact that it's not higher on the list of all the voters' concerns. And we just can't seem to get that infringement of gun control that we want for decades. Listen to the next one. This is telling. This is number 2.
Right. I mean, it tends to be one of those issues that ranks really high right when people hear about, learn of a mass shooting, and then it retreats behind other issues that are pressing on a day-to-day basis, like the economy. So it's an issue that the president certainly talks about. It's an issue he knows that is very important to his base. At the same time, you don't hear a ton about it from this White House for a very simple reason, and that is that it's highly unlikely that they can really make any headway on the issue in an election year with a Congress that is led, at least on the House side, by Republicans. They were able to make some incremental progress in the last Congress, but we are now in an election year, and back then the House and Senate were run by Democrats.
Huh.
I got a question.
Yeah. What's
So of
up?
all the things that are being proposed, of course, you have Mushmouth, that would be Biden, and Cackle, which would be Harris, out there calling for assault weapons bans and Ethan's law and universal
All the
background
things.
checks. Tell me which of those proposed laws would have
Mhm.
stopped this,
None
right?
of them.
We already have background checks. Apparently that wasn't done. What would
Yeah.
Ethan's law do? Nothing. What would an
Nothing.
assault weapons ban do?
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing.
Mhm.
So what are we talking about here? The
Yeah,
the
it's
Republicans, the
weird.
obstructionist Republicans,
Yes.
are blocking all
Mhm.
these,
Yep.
groundbreaking proposal gun ban things they're circulating DC, but yet
Yeah.
not one of them applies to this particular
Oh, of
case.
course. Of course. And the
Strange.
thing that I really is odd, isn't it? The thing that I love about this, because I'm all about the nuance and I love the messaging and the little slight things that they say to change and vary their message. This woman just said the quiet part out loud that she's not supposed to say out loud. Because Tim, I'm pretty sure two sages on the Second Legacy told everybody in that beautiful Second Legacy audience about a month to 2 months ago that the Democrats and the gun controllers were going to shift to state level gun control because the federal was not happening. At the same time, the gun controllers were trying to tell us that they've achieved so much. It's been unprecedented. Keep donating your money because we've done all these things. And now she's confirming it. It's unrealistic and highly unlikely, Tim. That's
Yeah.
weird. That's so weird. Huh.
And it's not just the Republicans that they're battling with; it's also the courts.
Oh yeah. Well, that little thing.
Anytime the wacky left gets something pushed through that's wildly unconstitutional, it winds up in court, and we've been knocking them down one by one. And so, yeah,
Yep.
but they always want to lay it at the feet of the Republicans,
Of course.
because generally speaking, as of right now, and we've said this many times, the Republicans tend to be pro-gun, although you'll have some defectors depending on the bill that's proposed. And then there's not
In the
one single
region.
Democrat left in Congress that is pro-gun. Matter of fact, I just looked at a statistic. There's literally $0 going from any type of gun rights organization to any Democrats. You go back 20 years in time, and that wasn't the case. Democrats
Right.
did take NRA money. They did take money from the other, various groups, but today they do not. So the line has been drawn in DC. Now, this is not talking about the rank and file voter out there, Mr. and Mrs. America. We're talking about the
Right.
swamp rats. So there are battle lines. Republicans
The
generally pro-gun, Democrats 100% anti-gun. And so, but
yeah.
that's not the problem. Their problem is the court system as well. So
Yep. They got a lot. They're climbing uphill. But the thing that I love about this is something that she just said, which every single person on the gun rights fight should understand, hear, and capitalize on. She literally just said, "Well, of course he has to say these things for his base because his base wants to hear them, but it's highly unrealistic." Whoa! Wait a
what he's
minute.
saying here means absolutely nothing, but he has to say it because he's
But he
going to
has
keep
to say it.
the
Yeah.
emotional mental midgets,
That's
happy.
it's so odd. And then if you go back to number one, not don't play it, doctor, but if you think about it, I'm just going to read it real quick. It's time to act to make your voice heard in Congress so we finally ban assault weapons, to limit high capacity magazines and strengthen background checks, keeping guns out of the hands of those who have no business owning them. It's interesting, Tim, because we just provided some analysis on how it doesn't make sense. Why is he going after those statements when it doesn't make sense in what actually is on the ground? And then you hear this where it's like, well, he's got to say it to his base.
Right.
Oh,
But
does he?
then you take a look. I mean, all you have to do is get in social media and you'll see that people that are not into firearms, they don't know the difference between what they call an assault weapon and a zip gun. They just don't know the difference.
Correct.
So when a politician like Mushbrain or Cacklebox gets out there and they start talking about gun control, saying we need to ban these assault weapons. Just look what happened in Kansas City. The non-gun people go, yeah, we got to get rid of those nasty assault weapons. Look what happened in Kansas City, not
But
realizing
that's
that there is no assault weapon used.
right.
But that's what they're
That's where
banking
we
on is the
come in.
ignorance.
They
Yes.
are, but that's where we come in
It-
at Second Legacy on Mac on Langley Outdoors. We are the tip of the spear, baby, because we will bring people converted. We will bring them to the water. Now, whether they drink it or not, that's a different thing, and I can't explain that part. But we have another clip, Tim. And wrapping up
Oh
this
boy.
segment, Dr. Button Pusher number 3.
I would say that for the past couple of decades, there's been a great deal of pessimism here in Washington. We've seen really horrific mass shootings without much action afterwards.
So true.
Oh, wait a minute. That's not what they told us for the last 4 years.
No, I thought we just had the most comprehensive gun control package ever passed. And
That's
and
weird.
I think just yesterday we talked about whatever Giffords or whichever group it was,
It was
talking about all
Giffords.org,
the
yeah.
amazing, Giffords talking about all the amazing things they've accomplished. Send us more money. Gosh, we're killing it over here. There's only one gun left in America, and if you give us more money, we'll get rid of it too. But then you listen to this commentary, and it's like, yeah, they don't do anything. Like, okay, so which is it?
So which is it? We're getting whiplash out here. We need to have those seatbelts that race car drivers use, where you put it onto your helmet so you don't get whiplash forward. Because genuinely, the rate at which these leftists are just fishtailing all over the place, from the border segment that we covered with Al Sharpton, where he was calling it an invasion all of a sudden, and now it's, well, for 60 years, decades, there's been nothing but pessimism around gun control efforts. Did you guys tell Chris Murphy? Because
Right.
Chris didn't get the memo. Like, that dude is out there saying that he's finally defeated the gun lobby and guns are going away forever and America's now safer because all his actions and his stupid sneakers. I mean, like, what planet are we on right now? Are we on gun
Yeah.
control planet, or are we on their losing planet? Because these people can't make up their minds.
Nope. But then when you have an electorate that has the IQ roughly that of their own shoe size, the stuff flies, right? They just go,
Crazy, dude.
yeah, okay. Yeah, the sky's red. Okay, sky's red. And then they'll get on X. You idiot Republicans, you don't even realize the sky is red. You probably still believe it's blue.
Well,
It's like,
that's only the really bad ones. That's only the really, really bad ones that are so sycophantic and easy to see through. To be honest, like, I really wonder, like,
there's
through a
no
normal
shortage
person's
of
eyes.
them. I live on
Oh,
X
no.
looking for G3 content, and there is no shortage of these people.
That's true. You found some good ones, by the way, but that's
Oh,
not this segment. Buckle up,
yeah.
people. We got to go into AI dead voices, and then that G3 is coming. So, Tim, if you are ready, and with your permission, proceeding to segment 2. All right.
Please proceed.
Get this. Please proceed. Thank you, sir.
Bailiff,
it
whack
turns
his
out-
PP.
Yeah, we're gonna need the whack his PB commentary here in a second.
Bailiff, whack his pee-pee.
It's so appropriate. That was a preemptive whack his PP, and I appreciate it because we can't go through an episode of Second Legacy without some sort of phallic reference. Cue Elizabeth Warren. So here's the thing. Davy did a thing. Davy Hogg did a thing. And just to remind you, as a public service announcement, beautiful people of Second Legacy, don't name your kids Davy because they turn out to be gun controllers. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So here's what they're doing. This is number 4. Families using recreated voices of gun violence victims are calling lawmakers. On a scale of 1 to 10 or a 0 to 10, Tim, give me a creep factor here.
That's like a 25.
Okay.
All
right.
That is the most insanely disgusting thing I could ever imagine. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously. And that's not because I'm pro 2A and they're anti 2A.
No, it's just as a
I mean,
human.
Yeah, just as a human. Like if one of my children had passed and then some group decided to replicate their voice through AI and then go out there and make phone calls and try to use it for political purposes, I would be livid. So
Even outside the political implications, we're just talking about the actual action of this, right?
Yeah.
But here's the weird part,
bad
dude, because
taste. Even if they had the permission of
it's
the
horrible
families,
taste.
bad taste.
Well, but that's where it gets really odd for me, and this is something that I covered in my episode on this. Listen to this. This is number 5. Parkland, Florida. Joaquin Guac Oliver died in the 2018 Parkland, Florida high school massacre. But federal lawmakers who opposed tighter gun regulations began getting phone calls in his voice on Wednesday, lambasting them for their position. This is where it boggles my mind. This is number 6. The families of Oliver and 5 others killed with guns are using artificial intelligence to create messages in their loved ones' voices and robocalling them to senators and House members who support the NRA. So the families are doing this, dude.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
here's my thought on this. And obviously you get the immediate ick factor, you get the immediate gross factor, and like the beyond the pale. You go into a point here where the people in question here, for example, are Manuel and Patricia Oliver. These are his parents, right? They've been arrested for improperly protesting and climbing cranes. They've been kicked out of congressional hearings because gun controllers used them and invited them there. They are using this as a way to propagate gun control, but this is, in my opinion, where grief overrides the mission, right? Like you're
Right.
so desperate to deliver and find meaning for what you experienced that you're going beyond the pale. And in my experience, in the long term, this turns people off from your message. It's more about the
yeah.
spectacle than the message.
Sure. I mean, imagine getting the phone call. So first of all, I would imagine most of these representatives would recognize the voice of the deceased, right? You have no idea who that voice
No,
belonged to.
not at all.
So the phone call has to include, "Hi, I'm a dead person. I
Oh, I've
died
got
in
it.
Parkland," right?
Oh, I've
So-
got it.
Oh, you have the actual call?
Oh, I've got the actual verbiage, but please continue. We're going to get to that.
Oh no, I'm just speculating. So I mean, it gets more tasteless as you try to understand what this call had to consist of. Because if you just
Mhm.
get some random call from a voice, you would have no idea. So if they're trying to use AI to sway people by using the voices of those that are deceased, when you have no idea what that voice is or who that person is or who that voice might belong to, they got to
Mhm.
say some pretty tacky stuff, I would think, in that robocall.
We're going to get to that here in a second because you're not far off. But let me walk you through a couple of things here, and then we're going to arrive at that point here. So this is number 8. Listen to this and tell me about the consistency or lack of consistency you hear on this. This is coming from Manuel and Patricia Oliver. These are the parents of one of the victims. Okay, these are the guys who got arrested and kicked out of Congress. That quote. We come from a place where gun violence is a problem, but you will never see a 19-year-old with an AR-15 getting into school and shooting people, Manuel Oliver said. Quote, there's a reason for the gun violence in a third world country. There's no reason for the gun violence and the amount of victims in the United States. I'm a little confused. Why is there a reason for gun violence in a third world country, but there's not a reason in the first world? Wouldn't that, Tim, be bad people doing bad things?
Mhm.
I mean,
that can be
like
classified as all sorts of things, including racist. But I can also show you a graphic that I just actually grabbed last night, I believe, that shows the rate of population and the percentage per capita
Hmm.
of gun owners. And then the next graphic shows those same countries and their violence, right?
Right.
As it relates to guns being used in crime. And yeah, the United States is actually, given our population and gun ownership and all that,
Hmm. Pretty
we
low.
have the highest population of gun owners in the world. But when you look at per capita, the number of people that are killed in violent crime, we're not we're not leading that.
No,
And many
we're
times
not.
it's those third world countries they're talking about here.
Well, but
But
okay.
is that okay?
To
No,
your point,
that's
it's not
horrible
okay.
violence. Right.
Right.
But
But
they're misrepresenting the facts, and then they're
yes,
saying, "But it's okay in a third world country." Why? Because they don't matter to
exactly.
you? That's racist.
Exactly. Dude, that's exactly what I was hoping that we would arrive on. So you're saying that gun violence is okay and expected in a third world country, but in a first world country, it's not. So here's a question. Why is it acceptable in a third world country, but it's not acceptable in a first world country? So you're saying that they are either bad for XYZ, or there's income disparities, or whatever reason you want to make up, lack of political centralized control, whatever you want to go with. But you're saying that it's fine in third world where we came from, but in first world it's not acceptable. That says a lot about your mentality. I mean, that
Yeah.
really does. And to your point,
Yeah.
they massage the numbers and make it a lot worse than it is. But you would be surprised, Tim, and by surprised I mean you wouldn't be, whose fingerprints are on this. This is number 9. After Joaquin's murder, the Olivers founded Change the Ref, which is sponsoring the website with March for Our Lives, a group created by Stoneman Douglas students. That's Davy Hogg's group.
Yep, that's
Both
Davy Hogg.
recruit young people through non traditional demonstrations like the AI calls and die ins. Now, to give you an example of who we're dealing with here, and this is the furthest extreme of gun control, in my opinion, on the protest side. Davy Hogg and the March for Our Lives are the same people who walked into a Publix and had a bunch of high schoolers just lay on the ground for 35 minutes with bullhorns. They're the same people who had coffins, well, frames of coffins delivered to the mall in Washington, D.C., and spelled out words with coffins. And
Mhm.
now they are using AI to generate voices of the dead to call politicians. These people have no moral compass. They have lost their
No.
moral compass, and they are now, it's mission first, it's true believer, it's zealotry over anything, any moral crossing of a line you probably shouldn't do. It's gone. It's out the window. It's all about
Yep.
mission now. And that is concerning.
Yep. They're godless heathens, but that's what they do. But they I had to throw it in there.
Yeah,
But I
that
mean,
was
think about
like
it.
right out of we were no, not we were. Yeah, we were soldiers.
So,
Please protect our guys and send their little heathen souls to the hell.
yeah, right?
Please
It's the
continue.
other
Sorry.
guy's job die for his country. It's my job to make sure he does. But
Exactly.
so it's disgusting because they're using really, as you said, tactics that are meant to elicit an emotional response. They can't win on the merits of their argument, so they have to resort to these really tasteless acts to get
Mhm.
that emotional response that they hope will
Correct.
then sway that other party to their side of the argument. Because, like I said, on the merits of the discussion, when you actually discuss the facts, you take the emotional nonsense out of the equation. People that have more than two brain cells to rub together will go, well, yeah, maybe not what you're saying over there. The facts seem to say something different. But the minute you get people that are of a lower IQ, they're easily swayed by such emotional displays of silliness. Well, then they're going to go, oh yeah, I mean, gosh, look at all those children laying on the ground playing dead for 30 minutes. Oh my gosh, that's just horrible. We got to do something about this. Ban the assault weapons. Put everybody in a rubber room. We got to do something. And that
Right.
only lasts for a short time as well. That's why they have to, whenever something bad happens, like what just happened in Kansas City, they got to strike quick because they know they just have a few days, and then the emotions
Before
die
facts
down and people
actually
start to look at the facts again. Right.
before facts actually come out and you look at what
Right.
happened. And like I said, we're going to cover this, but go back to the first segment that we just did. Why is this not higher on people's priority list? They're worried about things like inflation, pricing, the
Yeah.
economy, housing. Yeah, it's almost like they're using their advanced brains, not their emotional lizard brains, because you're trying to manipulate. They're losing effectiveness, which is why they are amping up to a next degree. That's really where I'm trying to get to. They are
Yeah.
increasing the pressure because they're losing effectiveness. So this is the words from the actual robocall. Are you fully ready?
Oh boy. I
Let's
think.
get it. So the first, this is number 11, Doctor. it does say my name. They introduce their names in it, and here's the quotes. I died that day in Parkland. My body was destroyed by a weapon of war. I'm back today because my parents used AI to recreate my voice call to you. Other victims like me will be calling too, again and again to demand action. How many calls will it take for you to care? How many dead voices will you hear before you finally listen?
Yep, that's kind of what I expected, and
Mm-hmm.
truly tasteless.
100%. So, I mean,
So to be clear, that's not the words of the deceased. That's the
nope.
words of somebody with an agenda using the voice
Using
of a deceased.
AI.
Right.
Correct.
I mean, this
This
is
is
this is
this is like
so
some
off the
straight up
charts. Yeah.
Bob Marley kind of, you're gonna see 3 ghosts tonight before the night's over kind of shit, like Christmas Carol. It's so the word you said is best. Tasteless. It's tasteless. It's gross, and it's really creepy. I
Yeah.
don't like it. I don't like it, Tim.
Yep. Nope.
Shows
I
you
don't
who
like
we're
it.
fighting.
Yeah.
Shows you who we're fighting.
But there's they will stoop so low that they'll go subterranean. I mean, they will go as low as they have to get whatever their agenda is. And the problem that we
Yeah.
face is that many of us aren't godless creatures. We actually have a moral compass, and we tend not to fight fire with fire by stooping to their level. So we take it on the chin by those that are influenced by these emotional displays of, propaganda, and we don't respond in kind. I'm not saying we should, but
No, I'm
just
with you.
keep in
I'm with you.
mind when one party is willing to go this low and the other one's like, yeah, that's kind of tasteless. We're just gonna pretend like this didn't happen. That doesn't help the situation either. Not at least on our side,
No.
right? I mean,
No,
I don't know how
in
we
my
combat
opinion,
this,
well, in
but
my
yeah,
opinion, you literally, with a full control on emotion, with zero targeting of any individuals, you just talk about what is happening and go, "This makes me uncomfortable. This is not okay." I think honestly, that's how you do it, because you don't ignore it. If you ignore it, you give them the narrative, you give them the entire
but that's generally
platform.
what the other
That's
side
generally
does
what
is
Republicans do. Yeah,
right.
Republicans absolutely bend down and don't want to talk about it. And so it's like, well, no, let's talk about it. I think that's the difference. The new gun advocates, the 2A advocates, they're willing to talk about it because we've been browbeaten for 20 years. And the new generation of shows, the new generation of the new generation of 2A advocates and talk shows are willing to discuss it because we have the ability to discuss it without crossing lines. They
Right.
don't. But I
Right.
think that's an incredibly important piece. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's my thoughts. I think it's time. I
Is
think
it
it's
that
time
time?
because I think it's that time because you have a G3 to deliver, and I know you're going to do it immaculately. It's
Oh
going to be
yeah.
incredible.
Well, we were just talking about Davy Hogg a little while
Oh
ago,
my
so let's bring
goodness!
up old Davy again, shall we?
What are the odds?
Because we just passed I think it's the
Yeah.
6th anniversary of the Parkland school tragedy, right? Of course, that's what he's made his entire career on, is talking about that. And so
Which
he
is
did make
weird
a
by
post. He made a
itself.
few posts. What's that?
Which is weird by itself. He's made his
Right,
entire name on that.
right. So his post says, in Parkland, the cop on campus did nothing. In Uverde, the cops on campus did nothing. In Kansas City, the cops did nothing. Too often, the good guys with guns only prove to be cowards with guns. More cops will not end gun violence. So basically, he's saying, and now
Hmm.
I would agree that there, especially in Parkland, there the security guard was anything but. But and of course, you know, with the other shootings that were mentioned, there especially with the cops standing around the hallway in Uverde, Texas, right?
Right.
I see what he's saying there. And then we talked about Kansas City. Now I just watched that video and
That's
I
not true at
saw a
all.
wall of cops running towards
Right.
gunfire.
So did I.
So there he's just talking trash, right? And just
Mhm.
making things up. There was a police response in
Mhm.
Uverde, but it's what people are criticizing it, and I think rightly so, based upon some of the stuff I've seen. But then
Yep.
to go on to say that good guys with guns prove to be cowards and with guns, and the cops aren't going to do anything, basically. So once again, this kind of goes along with what we see with the other idiot Davey from K-12 Shooting Database. They're arguing basically that security and police do nothing. So we just don't need them. It's just
Right.
hey, they're never going to stop the bad guys. So why do we even have them? They're all cowards with guns. So let's just do away with them. I mean, what is he proposing here? Well, I know what he's
Well,
proposing. He wants to take your gun
of
away,
course,
not
all the
theirs.
guns. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know
But
what's fascinating about this, Tom?
what's that?
Um, he says all that, and he's literally retweeting a video of an unarmed guy who tackled one of the shooters. Like, it's like, so your point here of watching a good guy tackle one of the shooters without a gun is that good guys are cowards with guns.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But
we're
they're more
not
brave
cowards
without
when we
them.
don't
Yeah.
have guns. So the guy literally jumps on a dude who is running away with a gun on his person after committing what looks like, conjecture, gang violence. It kind of flies in the face of what you said above that, Dave, because I mean that kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, based on that video, it would appear that maybe if we just, if the cops didn't have guns, they may have been more productive because it was a guy without a gun that tackled one of
There you
them.
go.
So, yeah, maybe it's just if you take the gun away, the cowardness goes away with it. I mean, who
That's
knows?
weird.
I don't know what this clown's getting at, other than he's just dumb as a bag of rocks, and he likes to post and prove that every day.
He's very vocal. He loves him some attention.
All right. Well, you have anything else to say about that one? before
Oh
we
no,
move
no,
on
I
to our
think that
next-
one. I think that one really wrapped itself up nicely. I think it did, but please
Okay.
continue.
I think we're up to number 13, Doc. And this comes from a random post I found on X last night. And the guy goes by Warren. And his comment is thus: This is what Fox News did to our country. We have grown ass men running around terrified to go to the grocery store without 3 guns. Well, I made a response post to this. I don't know if we have that one, Doc. I sent it over.
we
Yeah,
do.
there it
We
is.
do. It's in
Okay.
there.
It's up next. So my response to him was, yeah, that Fox News. Who knew they were broadcasting back in the 1800s? Intelligent people know that 1 equals none, 2 equals 1. Now, if you want to go for 3 or more, it's a free country. Well, at least it used to be. I still like to pretend it is. And then I posted a couple of pictures from the 1800s
Mhm.
where you see, several gentlemen with more than abrasive pistols, 3 pistols, 4 pistols. It's not Fox News. Carrying more
that
than
guy
one
on the right.
firearm is actually quite common. You'll find police carrying more than one firearm. They'll have a sidearm. They may have a backup gun. They'll have a rifle or shotgun in the patrol car, and many civilians do as well. I've carried
Right.
more than one gun myself. Now, I've not done it in the way that gentleman was doing it in the grocery store. I don't care what he does. It's a free country. It's not illegal. Does that offend the sensibilities of the gun grabbers? Well, I'm sure it does. I mean, they're offended by just about everything. But nothing was done wrong
fair.
there. But certainly wasn't Fox News that caused that man to put on 3 guns.
May I make an observation, Tim?
Sure.
Oh, it's just a small thing. I just think we're actually looking at a guy who believes excess in all manner of life. Do you see how many cars he has on his keychain? I mean,
I know, right?
that is like 400 keys, and
Yep.
he's wearing 2 belts. He's a big boy, so he's eating a lot of his Wheaties. I just think he believes in excess in everything, to be quite
Yeah.
honest.
And based on the direction that the gun in the rear in the small of his back is facing, it appears he may be left-handed, primarily.
Ooh,
Even though he has a pistol on either hip, he still has that one in the back that's left-handed. He's carrying the keys in the right hand.
weird.
If those keys are on the left hand, that could be a deadly weapon too. You can punch
Man.
people with those keys, and that'll do all sorts of damage to somebody's face. I mean, this guy's just a walking Viking. This is a gladiator, folks, and it's upsetting the gun grabbers.
It is. And I mean, I you know what? More power to you. The only critique that I'm going to make on this fine gentleman is that looks like kind of like an Uncle Mike's belt
Yeah.
that's been overdone twice with 2 holsters, one for each right and left approach.
Yeah,
With another one in the back on the main buckle. I'm only concerned about the application. I'm not concerned about the freedom, but I am a little concerned with this guy's need for excess. I am a little bit.
it's. I would shake the guy's hand if I ran into him, but anyway. All right. Just remember, folks, Fox News was not broadcasting in the 1800s. They have nothing to do with people carrying more than one firearm. And the anti-gunners that say things like that just prove, once again, that they're brain dead. All right, folks. Thanks for watching Second Legacy, and we'll talk to you guys soon.